Hello everyone, I'm sorry I couldn't be with you today, but I'm so happy that Vernetta is allowing me to share this information with you. I'll be talking about how to use blogging to build your brand. First, I want to introduce myself. I am Jamie Fleming-Dixon and I do quite a few things. I'm the owner of Mogul Writer, a copy editing and proofreading service. I am the author of How to Change Your Mindset and Live Your Most Fabulous Life, and a Fab Life strategist helping women become the most fabulous version of themselves. Finally, I am the founder, publisher, and editor-in-chief of For Colored Girls, a personal development blog that inspires and empowers women to live their most fabulous lives. And as I mentioned, I'll be sharing with you how I use blogging to build my brand to where it is now. But first, I want to start off by telling you why and how I created For Colored Girls. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always loved to read and write. I always knew I wanted to be a writer, and I would go from wanting to be a novelist to a poet to a newspaper reporter and on and on. And in middle school, I started reading magazines, and every week my dad would buy me a new one on payday. And I would also read the newspaper and the tabloids because he bought those sometimes. And in high school, I figured I'd either want to write for the lifestyle section of a newspaper or become a magazine writer. By the time I graduated from high school, I wasn't so sure about my career. When I applied for my college, I actually put down marketing as my major so I could do fashion merchandising. But by the time I actually got there, I had changed it to English. During my second semester, I remember opening my student email and seeing a message about a meeting for the student newspaper. So I thought, okay, this sounds interesting and it sounds like it might be fun. And hey, they have some free food. So yeah, I definitely need to check this out. So I went to the meeting and I ended up starting to write for the paper. And also during that second semester, I was taking a class called Intro to Women's Studies. And it was in that class that I figured out what I wanted to do as a career. Since I loved writing and I loved learning and sharing information about women's issues, I figured I could combine the two for my dream career. I ultimately wanted to start a magazine. So I wrote for the newspaper for the rest of my college career. I served as a senior reporter, assistant features editor, and the editor of a special section I created called Perspectives, which focused on diversity. And I ended up graduating with a degree in mass communication and a minor in women's studies. And after I graduated, I had an internship with a startup magazine based near Atlanta. I chose this magazine because I intended to work there after my internship was over. However, the internship did not turn out how I expected it to, but luckily I had a part-time job at the domestic violence shelter that I had also interned at, and for a few months I continued to look for that media and or writing job. So when I worked at the shelter, we also had to work out at our thrift store, and I would go to the library to read sometimes and kill time. And one day I came across a book about freelance writing, so I checked it out and I took a whole bunch of notes, and I decided to try that out. And so I also decided to create a blog so I could build up my writing resume and build up my writing portfolio for when I pitched magazines for freelance writing. And that's when I started For Colored Girls, although it wasn't called that at the time. So along with freelance writing, I then moved to copywriting, and after a couple of years of starting For Colored Girls and getting more readers and comments, I asked myself, well, why do you have to wait till you have the money and resources to create a print magazine? Why not just start with what you have? So no, it wasn't a print publication, but I was doing what I loved and had been wanting to do for a long time. The outcome was For Colored Girls, which is a play on the words from the 1975 stage play For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. I ultimately decided that instead of pitching the ideas I had to different publications, I'd use them on my site to brand myself and the blog, and FCG would be like an online magazine. That was in 2008, and we just celebrated our 4th anniversary last month, but I have to tell you that when I first started FCG, what I'm doing now with it wasn't necessarily my intention. But as Oprah says, God can dream a bigger dream for you than you can dream for yourself. I can say with certainty that I absolutely love what I do. You never know what can happen when you follow your passion. Like I mentioned earlier, For Colored Girls is a personal development and lifestyle blog that inspires and empowers women to live their most fabulous lives. Our mission is essentially to inform, inspire, and empower you to achieve success in every area of your life and motivate you to live your most fabulous life. Our goal: help you design the life you love. The cornerstone of FCG is our interviews. I feel that it is important to learn and get inspiration from each other, and I feel that we can learn a lot from other people's stories. We have a section called Audacious Bloggers, where we interview fab bloggers, successful sisters, where we feature women who have their dream careers, authors to know, featuring women authors, and we have an interview category for those who don't fit into the others. Some of the fabulous ladies I've been blessed to interview include Rhonda Ross, Diana Ross's daughter, Dee Coyley, founder of Naturality.com, Alilia Manos, great-great-granddaughter of Madam C.J. Walker, and New York Times bestselling author Kimberly Lawson-Rowley. Some of our other sections include entrepreneurship, life, and Get Motivated Mondays, and we now have over 2,000 articles. As I mentioned, when I started for Colored Girls, my only initial intention was to build my writing experience and create clips for my portfolio. It was in 2010 I decided to take things to the next level because that was when I noticed that people really enjoyed the blog, they were inspired by it, and I started getting a little recognition. So I figured if people were going to visit, I wanted it to be on point. I had a logo created, switched to a self-hosted site. I also created a Facebook page and a Twitter account specifically for FCG. We now also have a YouTube channel, a Tumblr blog, and we're on Pinterest. I also started selling ad space, and we've been fortunate to partner with some great companies, including Upscale Magazine and Sister Act 2 on Broadway. I also added new sections, and last year I created a radio show, Fly, Female, and Fabulous, where I interview women entrepreneurs about their businesses and their lives and how they are living the lives of their dreams. And I now offer coaching with plans of expanding even more. So I started to think about my brand because I really wanted to kick things up a notch and make FCG more known so that more people could be inspired and empowered. I really felt like a lot of what goes on the internet is not so positive, and I want to counter that with something that will uplift women. So doing for Colored Girls and blogging has really allowed me to expand my brand. When I started FCG, I had no idea that I would be doing all the things I'm doing now. Like, I used to want to write a book, but I never knew what I want to write about. But since I've been blogging and our tagline is Live Your Most Fabulous Life, I decided to write a book that detailed the steps of how to do just that. I also created my blog talk radio show, and I am now speaking, which is something I would have never done before. I also have been able to create other products and services. So blogging has really opened a lot of doors for me because I stepped out, and it has allowed me to stretch and grow both professionally and personally. Before I give you some pointers on branding your blog and yourself, I want to talk to you about creating a blog. I think blogging is a great platform and stepping stone if you want to become an author or speaker, or if you want to be known as an expert in your field. It also helps you get your name out there to the world if you feel you have something important to say and share. Before you create a blog, you first want to think about your niche. In other words, what will your blog be about? Although For Colored Girls has an array of topics, our niche is inspirational and personal development for women. When you're thinking about what your niche will be, think about what you're interested in writing about and covering and who your audience is. So for example, let's say you're into natural hair, but you happen to live in a small town. You know how difficult it can be to maintain your hair with limited access to products and stylists in a small city, so you could create a blog that provides hair care resources and tips for women who have natural hair that also live in small towns. Next, you want to think about how often you will post. On FCG, there are at least 2 posts a day, one of them being the quote of the day. I would say you want to post at least once a week. You want to be sure you have fresh content every time your readers visit, or they might stop coming. At the same time, you don't want to go overboard either, posting a dozen times per day. Next, you want to think about what platform you will use. And some of the bigger ones are WordPress, Tumblr, and Blogger. If you think you may want to blog professionally and or sell advertisement on your blog, I highly suggest you go ahead and start off with self-hosting. It's not that expensive these days, and it'll save you a huge headache if you do it now rather than waiting a few years down the road. And trust me, I know this from experience. Next, you want to think about what kind of posts you want to write. There are dozens of blog post types you can use in your blog: how-tos, interviews, case studies, product and music reviews, list posts, stories, controversial topics, and opinion, just to name a few. Next, you want to think about your editorial calendar. Now, if you haven't heard of this, basically an editorial calendar gives you a clear idea of what you'll be posting the week and or month ahead. It can also help your readers know what to expect when they come to your blog or when they open your email containing your blog posts. I create my editorial calendars weekly, and all I do is put what I write about for the upcoming week in a Word document. That's it. To learn more about blogging, I recommend the following resources, which I love. The first is ProBlogger.net. The next two are books that I've read. Angel's Laws of Blogging, What You Need to Know If You Want to Have a Successful and Profitable Blog, and ProBlogger, Secrets for Blogging Your Way to a Six-Figure Income. What is branding? Simply put, branding is how others perceive you and your blog. It helps your audience see how your blog and content differs from others that may be in a similar niche to you. And according to an article on Mashable.com, you need to make this equation equal to know if you have discovered your brand. Your self-impression equals how people perceive you. In other words, does how you see yourself match with how you want people to see you? Now I want to talk to you about branding yourself and your blog. First, you want to determine what you want to be known for and what you want your brand, your blog, to be known for. One branding exercise you can use is choose 3 words that you want people to use when describing you and your blog as well. The 3 words I chose when I did this exercise are motivating, inspiring, and encouraging. So when I write a blog post or post on social media, those words are always in the back of my mind because I want to make sure that's how my brand is coming across. Another tip is to ask yourself, what is my blog really about? Next, you want to be consistent with what you want to be known for. Like I just mentioned, when I post something on social media, I make sure it represents my brand. Make sure that 90% of what you post on social media represents your brand and what you stand for. Of course, if you're posting from your personal Facebook or Twitter account, you may post some personal things, but just be careful that it's not TMI or too far off from how you want people to perceive you. Next, figure out what you can do to stand out. And I think the best way to stand out is to just be yourself and be authentic. Of course, as a blogger, you're going to write about some of the same topics as other people, but when you put your own twist on things, that makes it your own. So just always remember to do you. Next, know and understand your audience. Who is your blog for? Where do they live? What are their hobbies? Do they like longer blog posts and articles, or do they prefer video and audio posts? What do they really want to know about? When you know what your readers like, you can provide them with the content and information they want and need, and that will keep them coming back for more. Keep your message simple. You cannot be everything to everybody. Let me repeat, you can't be everything to everybody. Trust me, you will drive yourself crazy trying to please everyone on the internet and in the world and trying to get them to read your blog. So don't even try it. There are people out there who need and want what you have to offer, so you just need to find these people and get your message to them. And next, you want to get your brand on paper and online. Once you have your brand and know what you stand for and what you want people to see you as, you want to let people know what you're all about. And there are a few ways to do this. One way is with your business card, and on it you want to include your logo, contact information including your email address, website, and phone number, and your personal brand statement such as motivational speaker or South Carolina tax professional. Another way to do this is through your blog or website. If you have a business that you'll be blogging for, or you plan to write a book or get into speaking, a great option is yourname.com, like JamieFleming-Dixon.com. Or if your blog will be your business or a part of it, choose a name that represents your brand and or what you want to be known for. And the final way to do this is through social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. As I mentioned earlier, be clear about who your audience is. Also, know what events you will attend, the bloggers, publications, and media you'll develop relationships with, and the social media sites you'll participate in. You want to keep a tight focus so you won't lose sight on what's really important when it comes to your brand and building your business. And my final tip is to just start somewhere. A lot of times we will let fear of not having the perfect plan keep us from starting whatever it is we want to do. So I just want to encourage you to just take a step today and get started with blogging and or branding yourself. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at info@forcoloredgirls.com. Thank you so much for your time.